I want to start by addressing the undeniable elephant in the room, Karoline began, her voice imbued with calm authority. There have been accusations thrown at this administration that go beyond mere criticism. They border on scandal-mongering. It's time I put those to rest decisively. There was a beat of silence before one voice cut through, questioning her directly. Karoline, are you seriously implying that the media is fabricating stories about your administration? I'm more than implying it, Karoline shot back without hesitation. I'm saying it outright. Certain narratives circulating recently are not based in fact. They're designed solely to damage credibility. The air shifted as another voice, laden with mockery, chimed in. Oh well, thank you, Karoline, for your courageous stand against the First Amendment. Should we expect subpoenas next, or just a lecture on journalistic values? Karoline's expression didn't falter. Her tone remained steady. I have the utmost respect for journalistic integrity. What I don't respect are hit pieces aimed at undermining public trust without evidence to back them up. If you'd like me to provide examples, I'd be happy to. Please do, came the sarcastic reply. The floor is yours as always. Karoline leaned in slightly. Last week, a report suggested my team was stalling key legislation due to influence from private donors. The source? An anonymous insider with no corroboration. That baseless claim damages not just this administration, but the public's understanding of the process. Someone else cut in, the tone more pressing now. But shouldn't the public have a right to question political motivations, Karoline? Isn't that the foundation of accountability? Absolutely, Karoline answered. I welcome accountability when it's grounded in truth. But accountability should never be weaponized through fiction. Facts matter more than anonymous whispers. A smirk followed. Facts, huh? Funny you should say that when your administration has been accused of withholding key details on this very legislation. Don't you think the irony is a bit rich? Irony is rich, Karoline said calmly. So is the persistent claim that transparency means jumping to conclusions without due process. Oh, come on, came the retort, leaning into sarcasm. Do you ever get tired of spinning the same old lines, or does it just come with the territory? Karoline's lips curved into a faint smile. Do you ever get tired of reducing complex issues to punchlines? She countered. Or does it just come with writing for entertainment instead of information? The response drew a few chuckles. That's good, they conceded, laughing. Defensive but clever. I'll give you that. I'm not here to be defensive, Karoline clarified, her tone firm. I'm here to ensure the truth isn't drowned out by half-baked assumptions and sensationalism. This administration is focused on solutions, not theatrics. Another jumped in. Then why hasn't there been any visible progress on the legislation, Karoline? What's taking so long? Legislative progress is not a highlight reel. It's a marathon. Behind the scenes, hours of effort, resources, and expertise are going into ensuring that this policy addresses every concern without collapsing under its own weight. But the public isn't seeing that, another voice pressed. Skepticism is growing. Don't they deserve better than vague reassurances? They absolutely do, Karoline acknowledged. That's why I'm here, answering every question, even the snide ones. What I won't do is promise shortcuts that compromise the integrity of this policy. A snarky grin emerged, followed by another jab. Integrity? That's a nice word, but it doesn't keep food on anyone's table, does it? No, it doesn't, Karoline replied evenly. But hasty, ill-conceived policies won't keep food on the table either. I'd rather face your critiques today than answer for the consequences of rushing tomorrow. Another voice cut through with an interruption. What's your response to criticism that this legislation disproportionately benefits urban areas at the expense of rural communities? It's false, Karoline said, her tone unyielding. Equity is at the core of this proposal. Urban and rural communities have different needs, but this policy is designed to scale solutions that benefit everyone equitably. A full breakdown will be provided with the release of the draft. And when will this draft be released? Someone else pressed. We've had timelines that keep shifting. The draft is on track to be released in 2 weeks, Karoline confirmed. Dates for public input forums will follow shortly thereafter. This isn't just a government document, it's a starting point for public dialogue. The sarcasm returned, sharp and cutting. 2 weeks? Should we start the countdown, or will there be another conveniently timed delay? By all means, start the countdown, Karoline said sharply. Hold me accountable, that's your job after all. The skepticism didn't fade. What about growing sentiments that your administration prioritizes optics over outcomes? What's your reaction to that? Perception is a part of governance, but it doesn't dictate our priorities, Karoline stated without missing a beat. Optics are temporary. Outcomes are what history remembers, and that's where our focus will remain. But public trust erodes when optics dominate, someone added, voice thick with concern. How do you plan to rebuild credibility when there's so much doubt surrounding your actions? By continuing to show up, Karoline replied firmly. By answering every question, no matter how critical. And by delivering real, measurable solutions, not overnight, but sustainably. Actions build trust, not sound bites. A chuckle followed. Then came the sarcastic jab. Speaking of sound bites, you've got quite a few of those yourself, Karoline. You should write a book someday. Talking points for beginners. Karoline met the humor with her own. I'll take that as a compliment, she said lightly. But if I do write a book, rest assured the title won't be as predictable as that suggestion. The laughter dissipated, paving the way for a different tone altogether. The voice that followed was sharper as it went for the jugular. Enough banter, Karoline. Should we discuss the calls for your resignation? After all, these delays aren't doing your reputation any favors. The room fell to a hush. It was the kind of question that could derail any press conference. Too far, perhaps, but it had been said. Karoline's silence stretched for a beat longer than usual, and then she spoke with deliberate calm. I've been accused of holding the line instead of acting rashly. If that's enough to call for my resignation, then it doesn't speak to me. It speaks to how quickly some want leadership to cave under pressure. That wasn't all. She shifted her tone, looking directly at the one who had posed the overly bold question. But if anyone thinks for a moment that this administration is anything less than steadfast in its commitment to the people, well, I have nothing to offer them except this piece of advice. Pay closer attention to results, not just the noise. The room stayed silent. That question came without a follow-up. No one interrupted. No one mocked. No one spoke out of turn. Karoline had managed to flip even the riskiest moment into a demonstration of her control and skill. It was the kind of answer that transcended the moment. It didn't just quiet a room, it commanded a certain respect. Even among skeptics, there was nothing left to say. That's who Karoline was. She didn't rely on silence to win. She relied on words strong enough to shatter it. And that day she reminded everyone exactly why she stood at that podium.